Hi, my name's Ben Smith. I'm just going to go over the health report that gets sent out to our clients every month on the first Monday of each month. A copy gets sent to our clients and also to our help desk team, where our help desk team will have a look at all the issues raised on the report, look to resolve them, and let you all know once that's been done. The reports are a snapshot of how your servers are running at that point in time when they run the report. So in saying that, let me get into it. Alright, so let's have a look at one of our loan machines reports. So I've got a basic overview of what the server is and how it's performing. This one needs a bit of help with the stability, but performance and security seems healthy. So we've got the applied standards. These are just some basic baseline standards we have for all of our machines within our remote management software, and we'll just run through them point by point. So operating system for the workstation, minimum requirements is Windows 7. CPU minimum requirements is at 2 megahertz standard, which is about an i3. And so memory, we're looking at a minimum of a 4 gig of RAM in the machine, and for the hard drive, at least drive size of 250 gig, just to make sure it can store all your files. For the server, minimum operating standard is Server 2008 R2. For the CPU, we're looking at a 4-core 3 gigahertz CPU. Amount of RAM minimum is 8 gig. Hard drive, we're looking at 1 terabyte drive size. We look at whether or not antivirus is installed and needs configuration or not. And for the Exchange server and SQL server, this will differ depending on what type of Exchange server or what type of SQL server. But essentially, we're sort of looking at 10 gig of RAM available for minimum for an Exchange server, and minimum sort of 12 gig of RAM available for an SQL server. Right, moving along. So the next section, we've got sort of the latest health checks. The first lot of health checks is the performance check. So we're looking at the performance of how the CPU is running. We've got a basic threshold of 70%, so if the CPU is running at 70% or more, it'll report as needing review. If it's sitting above 90%, it'll fail and will be alerted and be able to look at what's causing that. Memory performance, similar sort of thing. We've got 70% of memory usage. This is consistency, not just a peak. So you can see on this particular machine, it's using 74%. Over, and the thresholds of the 70%, and yes, severe threshold again is 90% on this one. Drive performance, so we sort of check a couple of things on this. We've got the minimum drive size, so what needs to be available. If it gets below 2 gig, then we get notified, but it'll report as failed. And then we've got the threshold of usage space-wise. So we'll get alerted around the 40% mark for the operating system drive, and 30% for the for any secondary drive. So you can see it's using 54% over the 34%. 30% there on the main drive, so that's flagging us to say, hey, you're using a fair bit of the throughput of that drive. Drive fragmentation on that one. So for the OS, we look at if it's more than 15% fragmented, or for the secondary drives, which are the non-OS drives, so we're looking at 30%. And not on this report, but we do talk about storage profile and overuse of storage on NASs as well. Moving along, the next lot is the stability checks. So with the stability checks, we're sort of more looking at peaks now, more so than the consistency. So with the CPU, if it spikes more than 25 times in an hour over the threshold that we've got, then it will ping us and let us know. Memory stability, same, we're looking at spikes, and again, if it's over sort of 25 times, it peaks over those above thresholds, that's going to alert us as well. We've got the operating system stability. This sort of looks at how long the operating system's been installed for. We're sort of over a year, we still just get notified. It's essentially just an overall look at, hey, your machine's getting a little bit long in the tooth, is it time to evaluate or come up with an end of life plan for that. For the event logs, so we want to look at, in the event logs, how many errors there are. We've sort of got the threshold of 5 errors throughout the threshold sitting in the event logs, and each time it sort of pings an error, you lose a point. You can see over the 5, then it fails the check. Software check, blacklisted applications, they're not necessarily viruses or known sort of viruses. They could potentially be non-business related software, something like uTorrent or something like that. As for the workstation standards, they check a couple of things. So we do sort of an operating system check, also the CPU, memory and hard drive. So it's sort of just seeing how these peaks go. Same with the server standards on that, and you get a score. For the security checks, we want to make sure the antivirus is installed, running up to date, and hasn't found anything. And the patch check, we're sort of really looking at critical patches on this one. Just one thing to note, on one of these other machines, I believe it failed. So we've got a few criticals on this lone machine, and this one failed, so it's got 4 elevator patches. So they may fail because it's just a snapshot of time. So it might say it needs these patches, but they're due to install tomorrow, so it won't report on that exactly. Look, thank you very much for your time. If you have any further questions, please feel free to call us 0755 94 0099 or email our help desk at service@ongcsystems.com.au. Oops, sorry, that's service@ongc.com.au.